Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We're here today with Daniel Gaugler. He is the CMO at PFL. Daniel, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Logan.
Awesome. Well, we are here. We're recording this while we're at the Flip My Funnel conference, talking everything account-based marketing these days. This will go live a little after. So for folks listening to this, to give them a little bit of context for you, Daniel, before we jump into this topic of humanizing account-based marketing, I'd love for you to take a second, let our audience know what you and the team at PFL are up to these days.
PFL is a marketing technology company. We provide solutions that integrate direct mail with your marketing automation platform or your CRM to really add another channel and help orchestrate that experience across multiple channels. We're targeting B2B accounts, implementing account-based marketing on our own team, as well as helping a lot of our customers launch account-based marketing programs.
So you guys do a lot more than just the printing itself, right? But that was kind of the foundation of the business?
Absolutely. So at our roots, we are a printing and fulfillment logistics company.
Right.
But with a strong background in technology, we've been building technology systems to be the Amazon of B2B personalized, customized collateral since 1999. And now we've just taken it to another level where we integrate into the systems that people are already using to do their otherwise digital-only marketing.
I love that mix of old school and new school, where you guys are kind of converging the two with print and digital at the same time. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And taking the best practices from digital and applying them to a physical medium so we can consume it on a device other than just our phone. And so making it so every single piece can be as dynamic as an email or a banner ad. It's personalized for the individual. The timing can be right. All of those sorts of things to really bring out a different experience with our future customers.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you were one of the presenters here this week at Flip My Funnel, and you were talking a little bit about this perfect storm of conditions that's making it tough for B2B salespeople, B2B marketers. Tell us a little bit about how you see that perfect storm playing out right now.
Yeah, the perfect storm is we live in a world where the B2B buyers in general have completely changed. Netflix, Pandora, those have changed our expectations as consumers, and that spills over into our business lives as well. And that we're pretty much intolerable of irrelevant, non-personalized communications, no matter what channel it is. And then you combine that with just how marketers have responded to this influx in decline in response rates. They've responded by upping the volume. And so we're just making it harder on ourselves. And this is pretty ironic given where marketing technology is today and what it allows us to do, and the millions of dollars or billions of dollars that have been invested in technology and media, that it's actually harder to do our jobs than it used to be. Right.
I love that analogy of Netflix. We were having dinner, our team went to the ABMEs last night, and we were grabbing dinner with some other marketers here at the Flip My Funnel conference, and we were talking about shows we like on Netflix, and someone brought up the topic of, I almost get mad when Netflix recommends a show that doesn't fit me. Like you said, like we're so conditioned to get hyper-personalized, on-point messaging that when something doesn't fit, whether we're a B2C consumer or a B2B buyer, we're all humans and we're facing these same conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, it's when my wife doesn't switch the Netflix account, and then my recommendations are not quite up my alley.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about this topic, or your take on humanizing B2B. It's a theme here this week. What's your take on that and how you guys are approaching that at PFL?
Yeah, so that is the way we need to respond to this perfect storm of conditions. That's not a perfect storm in a positive way at all.
Right.
We need to think about how do we have meaningful, intimate connections with our future customers and our current customers. And the way that we are deploying that at PFL and helping our clients deploy that is by really using the data that we have to refine the message that we're giving them, making that personalized to them. So it comes down to recommending the right movie, but then also to look at across media, what is the right channel for us to engage with them?
Okay.
And obviously we're very passionate about direct mail and the impact that can have, because it does have a tangible feel to it. There's also lots of psychology and neuroscience on why it elicits a response and different emotion. But it's also about how do we integrate the human touches within that as well. And so making that direct mail piece personal, creating a human-human connection, but then also coordinating it with a well-timed phone call that is orchestrated, and we're on message and on point with that customer around their needs and what they care about, not just serving ourselves.
All right, today's growth story revolves around search engine marketing, and we'll be shining the spotlight on Aegis Software, a company that makes software for manufacturing operations. Aegis was one of the first companies in their space to invest in search marketing, but as competition grew, their performance plateaued. To counter this, they hired Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. With unparalleled experience in inbound lead gen for B2B companies, Directive was able to increase Aegis's monthly online leads by 457%, while at the same time lowering their cost per lead by 147%. Now I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
And so to you, as we were talking a little bit offline, you mentioned that, for ABM, for you guys, you've been doing that on the marketing side for a while, kind of integrating the sales and marketing approach to this account-based strategy, and it's really been for you guys about reducing luck in your strategies for your customers and for yourselves, right?
Yeah. So just a little history about PFL is our root in e-commerce business. We had a traditional funnel, and it was very much an inbound model, right? How do we get more eyeballs on our stuff, create more leads, which then a certain percentage become customers, and that worked fine in the e-commerce model and still works well today. But if you look at it as we look to acquire higher lifetime value customers and better customers for us, we're at the mercy or the luck that the right person searches for the phrase that we're optimizing for, that they then become a lead, or the right person comes by our trade show booth and says hi, and then they become a lead. Whereas with account-based marketing, we get to choose. Right. And now that we've served hundreds and hundreds of clients, we know what a good customer looks like, from their marketing sophistication to their company size, to maybe some of the intent data we have on them that we know puts them at a certain level. And so we can reduce that luck by going after those target accounts with our marketing and sales efforts coordinated together.
Yeah. And so the last thing I know you wanted to talk about a little bit was in the ways that you guys are doing account-based marketing and focusing on things that necessarily don't scale and how that has attributed to some growth. Tell us a little bit about, something you guys are doing there, something that folks should be thinking about in doing things that don't scale that actually lead to growth.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest challenges you hear in an organization, particularly a fast growth organization. And it's a common excuse on why not to do something is that'll never scale. Right. You'll never figure it out. And one of my favorite podcasts, Masters of Scale, there's an interview. Big fan there too. There's an interview with the founders of Airbnb and about how the founders were going out and taking photos of apartments or houses to put on the site. And obviously that didn't scale. But they did that to a point till they proved the model and then it works. And we got to think about how we take that back to our marketing is how do we start with a hypothesis? How do we test and prove and put something out in the marketplace to learn from it, because the companies that adapt the fastest and learn from their programs are the ones that are ultimately going to win.
Yeah.
And for us, that looks like every campaign that we're deploying and testing and doing iterations. My favorite just actionable takeaway tip that I can give you is you have to do lots of over communicate and have lots of stand-ups. Since this is not you're not doing this in the silo when you're doing account-based marketing. You need to be working with your sales team. So we do daily stand-ups. They're 15 minutes. What's working, what's not, and so you can iterate the process no matter what program we're running. And sometimes you just got to pick up the lifting through brute force rather than saying, I'm going to have an integration with my marketing automation, with my Salesforce, and with 3 other MarTech vendors. You just do it through Excel spreadsheets, email, and hard work.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're kind of flipping that. Instead of, just doing stuff that scales because it scales, find out what works not at scale, and then figure out a way to scale it. Because if you're scaling the wrong things, then you're not really doing any good in the long run anyway.
Exactly. And you do it in a situation where you get too big to fail. Like in our own marketing, we get emotionally attached, right? We put so much effort. Right. We're going to squint and try and work the numbers and find, even though it wasn't the original success metric, we're going to make sure we find some win out of that, because we've invested so much in it. And if you can think about how you can quickly iterate and publish and go to market, you don't have that attachment, and you can create better marketing and a better customer experience.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Daniel, thank you for being on the show. This was a great conversation. If people listening to this want to reach out to you, ask any questions, find out more about PFL, or just stay connected with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, message me there. Also go to pfl.com and you can find out lots about our products and services.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Logan.
There are lots of ways to build a community, and we've chosen to build the B2B growth community through this podcast. But because of the way podcasts work, it's really hard to engage with our listeners. And without engagement, it's tough to build a great community. So here's what we've decided to do. We're organizing small dinners across the country with our listeners and guests. No sales pitches, no agenda, just great conversations with like-minded people. We'll talk business, we'll talk family, we'll talk goals and dreams. We'll build friendships. So if you'd like to be a part of a B2B growth dinner in a city near you, go to b2bgrowthdinners.com. That's b2bgrowthdinners.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.